Hello again. It's Amy and I'm back with another coloring video. This one was requested by Jenny. She's one of the owners of Sister Stamps. This cute little gal here is one of their first release, and she was wanting me to do a sepia toned coloring video. So I was like, sure, why not? And let's just get started. I'm using Copic X-Press It cardstock, and this is Kiyomi from Sister Stamps. I stamped them in Rich Cocoa Memento ink because I'm working with a lot of brown tones. I just like to use the brown ink for these ones. And I'm going to start with her skin, and I'm going to be using E30, E31, and YR20. Let me grab my markers. Okay, here we go. So I got my E30, and my light source, I'm going to have it coming from the left over here so that her eye line is facing it. So I'm going to start back here where the shadows would be heaviest. And I'm just putting that down. Get her little hands. Okay. Now I'm going to go E31. I'm just going to get those shadows. That. Come up here. Okay. Now I'm going to use my YR20. And I'm just going to go over her whole face with that. Get those little hands too with the E31. Get my little shadow going here. A little bit there. Hit those with the YR20 as well. Okay, so now I'm going to let that dry. I don't really do any blush or anything with the sepia tone, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. Now I'm going to go to the hair, and I'm going to be using E33, E35, E37, and YR24. And I'm going to start with my E33. And I'm just going to start at the crown of her head. And I'm actually going to, even though this is a nice big round area, I want it to look like she's got a separation of her bangs to the hair that's going to be pulled back into this little pigtail. So I'm just going to start giving myself the line there. So I'll know where to kind of shade against later. And then, but I'll just continue that around here. And this is all going to be pretty dark, back away from that light source. And then the pigtails, I'm going to get some color as well. I'm not worried about being pretty. This is just getting color on. Okay, so now I'm going to my E35, and I'm just going to feather that in. I wanted her hair to read as dark hair, and that's why I'm going with the darkest of these colors that I'll be using. The spinner. And get these bangs going. Always I like to pull towards myself so I'm not pulling into that face and accidentally getting any color on the skin that I've already colored in. Now I'm going to get the hair over here. The nice thing about, coloring anything, whether it's, if you're doing images in just black and white and the gray tones, or the sepia, it's a little bit more forgiving. So like if I accidentally get into these little flowers or leaves in her hair, but it's not going to be that big of a deal because it's all going to be running in that same color family towards the end. Okay, so now I'm going to my E37, and I'm just putting in the darkest spots here. there. Get the back of her head. Her little pigtails, so cute. These little stamps are relatively new, new company, and I just fell in love with them right away. They're so sweet. I actually have my pre-order of the second release on its way to me. I got a notification today from Pineapple Cove, and I'm so excited. Okay. So now I'm working my way back down to the E35, and we're just going to start filling in that gap, that white gap that I left, coming in a little bit further. Than I did the first time. Just kind of feathering in the color. Always kind of in the direction that the hair would be growing. So like if these are the bangs, they're coming around that head, which is a round object. And pull it up a little bit here. And now to the E33. And that is going to finish off into the highlight area. There. Okay, so now you guys are probably saying, wait, what about that YR24 you mentioned? Well, here comes the YR24. YR24 is actually called Pale Sepia. So I take that, and it's going to go over the whole thing. And it's going to give it kind of an orange cast, which is, like the old sepia tone photos. And then this is what's going to kind of start giving us that look we're going for, from just browns to that rich sepia toned look. Okay, I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll come back and finish the hair in a little bit. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to move back to the face just to give it a quick little, I want to reinforce the shadow that's under those heavy bangs, and kind of back here on her ear, and right down here under her chin, and on this side of her face, and that's with the E31, and then just the E30 to blend it. And the YR20 blending over it again. This, I'm using my YR20 kind of like I did the YR24 in the hair. This is what's going to take it from brown to more sepia toned. Okay, so now I'm going to move to the gown, and I'm actually going to have her have a light colored gown on. So I'm going to be using E50, 51, and 53. I'm starting with E50. And I'm just going to start putting color on. And I'm not even going to worry about these little X's, the kind of the print on her thing, because again, we're working with the same color family. I'm going to make those dark at the end, and it's not even going to matter that I go color them in with my lightest shades. So I don't have to worry about avoiding the print, as it were. So now I'm coming around this heavily shadowed area, wrapping around up towards the front where the light's going to be hitting her more. So now I go to my E51 and lay that right on top of it, just not quite as far, not going quite as far as I did with the 50. There, and under her chin, back here on her arm, and her sleeve. And then down here on her little kimono. And then just finish that off with the E53. Just our darkest areas with that. Around her body, back of the sleeve. And down here on her kimono. Not worrying about blending yet. That's coming next. Okay. Now I'm working my way back down with the E51. Pulling it a little farther than the first time. This is where we start the blending action. And then finish it off with the E50. Come in from this direction here. Just blend that all together. Okay. I just realized I forgot her little neck. Get some E30 on there. That might be good enough. Okay. I'm going to let that dry and go back to the hair now. And I'm just going to take my E33, 35, 37 again. And really quickly, just strokes with my E33. Pulling it down just like we did the first time. Pulling it up here. And now I'm going to start pulling towards that pigtail over here. Get some strands there. Strands there. My E35. Just real light strands. Pull it up towards that pigtail. Get the back of her head nice and dark. Get that. Come around from the bottom of the bangs. Give her some strands of hair there. I'm going to hit this one too. Okay. And then finally our E37 to really give us our darkest. So it'd be like she has that dark black hair. But of course in a sepia tone photo, it's not going to look black. And that wire 24 that we laid down before just gives it that nice golden tone to the finished project. Oops, getting a little crazy over there. I'll clean that up with my colorless blender at the end. Okay, so we got her hair done now. I'm going to move back to her dress, and I am just going to do the trim now with E35 and YR24 and a little bit of the YR20. So I'm going to put my E35 down first. And I'm going to do her little collar in the same way. My YR24, going over it, pulling it across. I wanted this like, you know, a color. It would have been a color, so not as dark as black or anything. But darker than like the skin tone and the rest of the kimono that she's wearing. Okay. And now I'm going to hit it a little bit more with that E35. YR24. I lightened it up a bit too much there. I want it golden. That looks nice. Okay. Now I'm just going to take my E37 and I'm just going to use that to hit these little kind of X patterns on her gown. And I'm not going to do any kind of blending or anything on these. I'm just straight E37. Okay. Just use that very tip of your marker on these, you know, anything little like this, because we don't want to accidentally get too much out of the lines. Just a real gentle, steady hand. And some patience. But it's worth it in the end. Okay, we're getting there. So yeah, lots of, basically using all of our E30s to do a good sepia tone, and then throwing in a couple of YRs. You'll be good to go, and you can do an entire scene like this. I will be, but not in this video. I don't think that would get pretty long. Oh, let's not forget her little shoes. They're so small down here. I'm just going to do the same thing, not worrying about blending anything. Okay, now her little flowers or leaves in her hair. The stamp, the original image, has a butterfly that she's chasing, and since I was going with the sepia tone, I decided to make it a fall scene, so I stamped in with the October afternoon set, the weather vane set. I had some leaves, so I stamped those, so she's kind of chasing those. Oh, and that's the wishing tree from the greeting farm back there. It's discontinued now, but I thought it looked nice with her because it's got the bare branches. Okay, back to the image. E33. I'm just gonna, and you know, any color you want, however light or dark you want these to be. Totally up to you. Do just a touch of E35, kind of at the base here, and then I'm going to take my E50 and blend that all together. Okay. See, it's not hard at all. It's just, it's actually, it takes a lot of the guesswork out because you're not trying to find all the colors to match, you know, paper you're using or whatever. You got a limited color palette that you're working with, and it's fun to do every once in a while. This is just the E33, just blend in that middle part out a little bit while it was still saturated from the E50. Okay, let's see, take my colorless blender and just push where I went a little crazy. I'll probably have to do it a couple of times because, you know, the E37's a little bit on the darker side. But you can get the gist of it there. So that is how I color a sepia toned image, and I hope that helped you out. Thanks for watching.